In this assignment, you will create this U-bolt connector. This connector is used in electric substations as a terminal connector, and it encompasses all of the advanced commands that we're learning in this module. In eLearn, there's a page that shows the steps to making this U-bolt. I might not go exactly by the steps in the video, but it's another resource to help you. I've opened a new part using the standard template. The first thing I did was save. I'll start a sketch on the XZ plane, zoom out just a little bit, start rectangle, make one circle for the hole. Now I'll start constraining everything using dimensions and other constraints. Now I'm ready to create the loft. I need to start work plane. If I click the arrow underneath, I see that I have a lot of available ways to create these planes. We'll use offset from plane, and that is the default. Now I'll select the plane. I meant to say face that I want. Let me zoom a little bit. Type 0.75 and select the green check. Now I have a work plane, and I will rename this Loft WP1. Since I'm over in the browser, I'll go ahead and right-click, pick New Sketch, and turn off the visibility of the work plane. Project geometry. I want the cables to sit right on the top of the pad. Start circle. Make one and another. Dimension these. I'll rename this sketch Loft SK1. Start Loft, select the face of the pad, and then select the sketch. making sure that I have the entire sketch highlighted. Now I'll click OK and turn this around so we can see the loft. I'll share my loft sketch 1. It was consumed when I created the loft. And that also makes it visible. Turn back around and start extrude so that I can create the cable lugs. Now I'll turn off the visibility of the Loft 1 sketch and close up my browser. I have a lot of sharp edges on this and we don't want that. So I'm going to use fillet with a radius of 0.25 and select edges. Move this out of the way a little bit. I'll have to rotate this around some to make sure that I'm getting the correct edges. And move this out of the way. Now I'll click OK. I'll click the home icon and start work plane again. I'm going to use this work plane to create my sweep for one of the U-bolts. Notice because of the direction, I had to put a negative 7/8 in my distance, and I can click on the green check. In the browser, I'll rename this work plane SWP WP1 for Sweep Work Plane 1 and use this for my sketch. Turn the visibility off and project geometry, the outside of the lug, start offset, select the projected geometry, type in 0.3 and enter. Start line, make sure I get it straight. I'm not worried about the distance right now. I'll restart line to put on the other side. This represents the legs of the U-bolt. Finish line, make these equal. Start trim and dimension them. Dimension the distance from the bottom of the pad to the bottom of what will be the U-bolt. That distance is 9/16. I need one more dimension. I think it's tangent. Yes, that did it. I'll finish the sketch. Rename the sketch. I have to click slowly to be able to rename it. Otherwise, it activates the sketch again. And this is Sweep Sketch 1. As with the loft, sweep requires 2 sketches. I'll start the work plane command. I want to make sure that I'm getting the correct option. Offset from plane. Select the bottom of the pad. Drag down and select this dimension because I want this located at the end of my sweep that will eventually be the U-bolt. And I see that it's put the parameter name in the text box. I'll click the check. I can get to the parameters from the Manage tab, or I keep mine on the Quick Access toolbar. In case you're curious, here's a list of all the parameters, and I can tell that D30 is the 9/16, and D31 equals D30 because it's the distance that I set the work plane at. I'll rename this work plane to Sweep 2, right-click, and start a new sketch. I'll turn the visibility off of this work plane, and I'll need to go to the Home view and turn this around using the View Cube, project geometry. I'll need to put a circle at the end point of this line for the profile of the sweep. Start circle. Make sure I get the end point, and this is going to be 5/8. Finish sketch. Start sweep. Select my profile. Now you could select more than one profile, so I need to click in the path to let Inventor know that I'm done selecting profiles, and select my path. It gives me a preview. I'll click OK, and I have my U-bolt. Normally they are bronze, so I will change the appearance to bronze. I'll need to select all the surfaces. Hold down Shift while I do that. Let me look at the bottom to make sure I get the bottom faces. Click in the Appearance box and find bronze. Now for the threads, select the surface. When I do that, it auto-populated the size and designation and class. I'll change the depth to 1.5625. Leave the offset at 0. If your depth is grayed out, you would have to click on this icon to turn off full depth so that you can change the value. I'll click OK and repeat the process for the other leg of the U-bolt. Now to create the nuts, I'll use the bottom of the pad for my sketch. Let's turn this around. Project geometry. And use slice graphics so that I can see what I'm doing better. Click the arrow by rectangle and select polygon. Make sure it's a 6-sided polygon. Select the center of each leg and sort of rotate this around. Do the same on the second leg. Then click Done. I'll go ahead and dimension the side. 0.5. And make sure it's equal to the other one. I'll use project geometry again to project the x-axis so that I can make sure that the sides are parallel to that and not twisted. My sketch is fully constrained. I'll finish. Start Extrude. Select each profile. Make them symmetrical and make the distance 0.5. Click OK. Next is the rectangular pattern. First, let me close up my browser and select the rectangular pattern. I'll select the features from the browser, holding down Shift so that I can select all of them. Now select the direction by clicking on an edge. I'll measure the spacing between these two by selecting the center point of each lug, even though I know it's 3.125. If I did not, that's a handy tool. I'll select direction 2, click on an edge, flip this, and make the spacing 1.25. Now I'll click OK. I'll need to change the appearance of each one of these U-bolts to bronze. The last thing to do is make the coil. I'll expand the origin so that I can turn on the visibility of the XY plane. I centered the 4-hole pad on all 3 axes, so this makes it easy for me to use the XY plane to create a new plane down the center of one of the cable lugs. If you did not do that, you might have to play around with making 3 points to create the plane that you need for the coil sketch. Or you could measure from the center of the lug to the side of the 4-hole pad. Another thing you can do is orient your sketch of your 4-hole pad with it at the origin, and everything should adjust when you finish that sketch. I'll start the work plane command. Select the XY work plane and drag. I know that the total distance between the 2 cable lugs is 3.125, so I'll type that in and divide it by 2. Click the green check. I'll turn off the visibility of the XY plane and close up my origin. Rename work plane 4 to coil work plane 1 and use it to create a sketch. Turn off the visibility of the work plane. Use slice graphics so that I can see the inside of the cable lug. Project geometry, the end and the bottom. Start circle. Put the center somewhere in the interior of the cable lug and type in 0.325 for the diameter. Use tangent to make this tangent with the bottom and tangent with the side. I'll start line and just pick a point. Make sure my line is straight. I'll right-click, click OK to end the line command. Dimension from the line to the center of my circle, make that distance 0.375. This sketch is not fully constrained, but that's okay. I'll finish it. Start coil. Select my profile. Oh, my profile is selected. I'll select the axis. Make sure that my method, pitch, and revolution values are correct. I need to flip this. My preview shows me that it's going inside the lug and I want it to go outside. Now I can click OK, and there's my coil. Use rectangle pattern to copy it over to the other lug. And I remember that this spacing is going to be 3.125. Click OK. Now I'll change the appearance so they don't look so much like the cable lug. Hold down Shift to select both of them. And this could be aluminum or copper cable, but I'll just make it a color that I think will look good. I'll try cool white, and that looks good to me. The part is finished. Make sure that you save, print to PDF, and submit the part file and the PDF file into the assignment Dropbox.